I can't even begin to explain how unbelievably disappointed I am in this film. This is a film that had everything going for it. Its three amazing predecessors, the newfound interest in DreamWorks animation following the success of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, just everything.
We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. It was perfect. But no, you just had to blow it up.
I have seen this film 2 times. The second time being with my younger brother, and my almost anger towards the film had died down because of that. And now I feel I can view the film in a level-headed way. But I will stop wasting your time and just jump right in. Before I get started, please consider leaving a like and comment because it does help with the YouTube algorithm. Anyway, back to the video. Spoilers for the unfortunate souls who still care about this movie, because on this channel I don't believe in non-spoiler reviews. My first video doesn't count. This film follows Poe as he must pass down the title of Dragon Warrior to become the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, which I thought there was only one Dragon Warrior, a chosen one if you will, but whatever if the film can work with it. You know, this is a good concept and I would be down for a film following the storyline, but the film barely dives into this concept. Not to mention just its setup makes no sense whatsoever, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The film only really acknowledges it when it's convenient, like when Poe tries to reason with the Chameleon, or the beginning and resolution of the film. Jumping right into the meat of this film and saving characters for a bit later, this film has potential for a strong message about change being okay, and how we need to accept it and not fight it, but it's held back by the rest of the just bland comedy, characters, and story. There's a moment that comes to mind towards the end of the film where Mr. Ping gives a noodle-related metaphor explaining this message to Poe, similar to the previous films, but it's immediately ruined by the poor attempts at comedy. I don't think I laughed a single time during this film. Maybe once or twice, but it was a light chuckle at best, which is a far cry from what the originals were able to do. This film also has some odd choices in its style. Crazy Train being in the film just doesn't feel Kung Fu Panda at all. And looking at the director, I can kind of see that now, but not to mention the animation and art style is just so off. It's detailed, yeah, but it lacks identity. The previous films have clear identities with their visuals, with the first 2 films' styles masking the dated bits of animation. They are colorful and vibrant while being unique in their own ways, using the visuals to tell a story. When this film was announced, I was expecting it to take inspiration from The Last Wish's awe-inspiring visuals and fight scenes, but its visuals are akin to The Boss Baby, not what I wanted for Kung Fu Panda. As mentioned earlier, the story is very bare bones, which covering it means I need to dive into characters, finally. So the Chameleon wants Poe's staff from the previous film given to him by Oogway to access the spirit realm. Why does she want to do this, you might ask? Well, apparently nobody would teach her Kung Fu because she's too small. Even though Mantis is a character in this universe, and she is about the same size as Shifu judging off the shot where Tai Lung's holding her. So yeah, that's something. I also find it hard to believe that Oogway, who pretty much created Kung Fu in this universe, would allow for someone wanting to learn the ways of Kung Fu to be turned down, unless they wanted it for selfish reasons and such, which the film doesn't really hint at in the slightest. Her takeover China motive seems to be a byproduct of being turned down, so her motive is just incredibly weak. Not to mention her 2 gimmicks are straight up ripped from Shen and Kai. Obviously the stealing powers is a Kai thing, but Chameleon is stealing metal to create an anti-Kung Fu device, as well as commands an army in a foreign city just like Shen. This character is just completely unoriginal, and that's not even mentioning how she's not intimidating in the slightest. Every villain in this franchise is immediately established as a threat. Tai Lung takes out an entire army escaping prison. Kai takes out Oogway and every master in the spirit realm. Shen commits genocide before his first major appearance in the film, and his first present day appearance is kicking the shit out of 2 Kung Fu masters and straight up killing one of them. So with this in mind, what does Chameleon do? She pushes someone down the stairs. Yeah. The film dumps exposition about her constantly instead of showing why she is a threat. She's taken out in 2 hits anyways, so whatever. There's this scene where it goes from everyone in Mr. Ping's restaurant talking about her, which somehow they all know about her but Poe doesn't, which immediately cuts to some crime bosses saying how much she sucks. It's just lazy. Show, don't tell, that's all I have to say. Zhen, ignoring the fact that her name is really similar to Shen, and you could easily confuse that for a younger audience, so don't know what they were thinking there. She's a fine enough character but lacks any clever writing to make her truly memorable. She's a fox, so obviously she'll fall into the stereotype of a sneaky thief. She has a connection to Chameleon that's barely explored outside of the twist reveal, and yeah, that's literally it. She has the potential to be a great character, but the film barely does anything with her. The film just commits to this twist that just hurts it overall. Like, why is Zhen a wanted criminal in her master's city? Her growing closer to Po doesn't feel earned at all, it's just so rushed. Speaking of Po, it already started to be a problem back in 3, but 4 dumbs him down so much. He isn't a moron. I don't know why the film treats him like one. Making the film less dark doesn't mean you need to dumb down your protagonist. There are points in this film where he's just straight up stupid and it's unbelievable. Shifu's limited screen time somehow messes up his character as well. In the first film, he learns to not force people to change and instead to accept them for who they are. But in this film, he just forces Po to change because the plot demands it. Not to mention the idea of forcing Po to change while he's still young makes no sense. Oogway had all the time in the world to choose his successor. Like, he died only 2 days after choosing. But for some reason, Po needs to choose right now when he's still young and in his prime. This isn't like a Batman Beyond thing where he's like so old he can't be Batman anymore. Like, Po could easily still be the Dragon Warrior. The idea works in concept, but keeping him so young just ruins it. Why can't he be the Dragon Warrior and a leader? I thought Kung Fu Panda 3's ending pretty much confirmed that he was that. Po's dads have a side plot for some reason in this 90-minute film. Even though it adds nothing and is mostly harmless, it just gets Lee's character all wrong. This is the guy who took on Shen's army alone to defend his family, permanently scarring Shen's highest ranking officer. He was an already skilled fighter to an extent and now has some knowledge of Kung Fu at the end of 3. But in 4, he's just some moron who's afraid of some guys in a bar. Again, he took on Shen and his army. He helped defeat Kai, but he's scared of a bar fight. Please. The villains being brought back also highlights the blatant continuity errors in this film. Tai Lung bowing to Po makes absolutely no sense. Tai Lung stopped at nothing to get his goals. He views Po as someone robbing him of his destiny the same way Shifu did. And for the record, he's not the true Dragon Warrior. He will never be. I might make a video on that similar to the one I did on Death. We'll see. Unless something major happened off screen, which is a different problem in and of itself, this makes no sense whatsoever, which again, the film doesn't even hint at this being the case. Shen has no dialogue, but the film still messes that up somehow. Again, bowing to Po. This is the same guy who would rather die than accept that Po was right, killing himself rather than letting Po beat him. Why would he bow to the panda that destroyed his life's work? Why would this character bow to anyone? Kai is power hungry. Why would he bow? Not to mention, Kai even being in the film makes no sense. He died in the spirit realm. He's like double dead. His spirit just doesn't exist anymore. How does Chameleon pull him out? And if he didn't die, which also makes no sense, what is stopping him from once again collecting the chi of every master and leaving? He beat them once, why can't he do it again? And if he can't do it again, why would he willingly go back to the spirit realm? He wants out. Why is he going back? This is just a fundamental misunderstanding of Kai and the third film in general, and that applies for all of the villains. Why would Tai Lung and Shen go back? Shen was attempting to avoid his death, running from his destiny. Tai Lung was sent to the spirit realm against his will. Why? Just why? I find it funny as well how Tai Lung is apparently back at the beginning of the film, and Shifu doesn't care at all about his adopted son being alive, and you can't say like, oh, he knows it's the Chameleon, because he didn't hear about the Chameleon until after he heard about Tai Lung. So, like, he just doesn't care. Or the fact Lee has no reaction to his wife's murderer standing right in front of him. It's so funny to me. Why does Chameleon even pull Shen from the spirit realm, which I also didn't know everyone just had access to? Like, I thought it was just Kung Fu masters. Shen's a martial artist, yeah, but Shen isn't a Kung Fu master. Shen is easily overpowered by pretty much anyone in physical combat if he doesn't have the element of surprise. His power comes from his family's creation of gunpowder and how he weaponized it, as well as his seemingly endless army. Shen has no powers. Chameleon can't steal anything. The film just feels like it was written by people who haven't watched the originals, and even then the film can't even stay consistent with itself. How does Chameleon know Po's moves if she needs to steal others' kung fu? And it shares too many similarities with the previous films to be written by someone who hasn't seen them. There are shots and lines from this movie directly ripped from 2 specifically. The wolves stealing from the citizens of Gongmen City, the I choose this line from Shen, the constant need for metal and stealing people's powers. This film just makes no sense, but either way it comes off as a cheap cash grab. As mentioned earlier, I watched this film for the second time with my younger brother, and I am so happy he enjoyed it, which is also why I am not as harsh as I was originally planning to be for this video. Yes, I think it's bad, but if he enjoyed it, that makes me happy. But part of me feels bad because while he enjoys it now, when he grows, I don't see it leaving an impact on him like the original films left on me. I could see it fading away in his memory like many of my childhood films did. Point is, this film shouldn't exist. It was clearly made for the money. Like many other animated films I've covered on this channel, it prioritized nostalgia and a quick buck over a meaningful story when all of the pieces were there. The original trilogy had themes that taught kids important life lessons while also speaking to adults. Things like how your past doesn't define you and how your scars will heal, or how you are enough and there's no need to wish you were something else. While on the surface this film is about how change is okay, it's just half-baked. I wanted to like this film, but it just left me so disappointed, and if anything, that's what hurts the most.